Good evening, all. Welcome to Actually the Professor. I am the professor in classes, and so looking forward to another great show. Want to say good evening to my co-host. Miss Debbie, how you doing today? Good evening.
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. Brother Flex, how you doing today, sir?
Great. My tone of the
Yeah,
title, brother.
we have our resident therapist in the house, Brother Davenport once again. So uh, we'll get to you later, sir, as far as getting the intro, as far as introducing yourself and everything else. But the show is on codependency. Get your notes, get your comments ready. I'll drop the intro, and we will be right back.
Do it for you. Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours, let me show you how I prove the floor is yours. No, 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 no. The floor is yours. 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 The floor, yeah, the floor is yours.
Yay. Oh, I thought I throw that in there. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another show, Ask the Professor Show. We have a great show for you tonight, but we got to get some of these household issues out the way because we need you to go like, share, subscribe, and follow us on all platforms we have. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We always broadcast our shows on Facebook Live. So if you're not on Facebook and your people aren't on Facebook, like your auntie, your cousin, your brother, sister, them, tell them to go over to our YouTube channel, The Floor is Yours Podcast, and hit that subscribe button, that little bell on the top right. And subscribe. We need to make this the best show ever that you will see and hear online on our platforms. So we need y'all to do y'all part. Send them on over there. We got great conversations and discussions for you, and we look forward to you putting your comments in the section because we're going to be addressing your comments, and we feed off your comments, and we love to hear your feedback. Another thing, we want you to comment and at least let us know where you're listening from us at. What city, what state? Hey, we're trying to be worldwide, so we'll love to know where you're listening from. We want to give a special shout out to Sip and Converse Rebooted community, as well as the All Black Opinions Matter community, and all that are watching. We want to thank our guest that's always coming in. I don't see, what's his name yet? Our faithful viewer. I don't see him in here yet, but
You talking about Clyde?
Clyde, that's his name. He coming. Hey, Clyde, if you listening, go ahead and tell us hi. We know we ain't your favorite show, but we your favorite. So, so Professor, we have a special guest with us tonight. Let you go ahead and try to introduce our special guest tonight.
Yeah, so our resident therapist, Brother Dana Davenport out of Richmond, Virginia. So he's a professional counselor. So thanks for being back on the show once again, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so if you all who didn't see the first time he was on the show, he's coming back once again. Had a lot of great insight, a lot of great input in our last show. And Brother Dana, I'll give it to you to introduce yourself. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Dana Davenport. I am a licensed professional counselor and also a clinical certified trauma professional. And I work here in private practice, but also work for the Community Services Board in Chesterfield County, Richmond, Virginia. So that is me. I've been been practicing for about maybe 11 or 12 years. So I have a lot of experience working with adults and kids, and definitely working with specifically men in relationships and dealing with relationships as far as emotions and just how to approach relationships, and then looking at, recently dealing with men who have been recently divorced.
Oh, okay, that's
So thanks for that
awesome.
gracious intro. So as I said, as a counselor, hey, at the end of the show, if you feel like invoicing Dad, please do, because she need all the
Listen,
professional
see,
counseling she can get.
Let me pay for his first 3 sessions because he definitely needs you about some relationship advice. I'm gonna gladly pay for those 3 because maybe the conversation that we have on this show going forward will be in sync because yeah, he needs some help.
Yeah, so all we actually give her the professor discount, so we appreciate it. So she can get all the sessions she
Yeah.
can get.
Well, thank you for your intro and what all you do. We're going to make sure Professor gets your information later because he needs you. So when we're talking about relationship and baggage, they
Think
usually
about
talk
debit.
about, really, we talk about debt, bad credit, failed marriages, trust issues, or kids from previous relationships. Since we have a licensed professional counselor, Mr. Davenport, here with us tonight, we're going to go a little deeper than normal and discuss codependency. Codependency is defined as an excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner, typically one who requires support on account of an illness or addiction. We're going to go ahead and start that conversation about codependency. Professor, you want to describe what that is in your own terms?
Yes, I think it's in love with being in love. So you sacrifice yourself for the sake of a relationship. So it doesn't have to be a chemical dependency or alcoholism or anything else. It could be anything that you feel like the person may need help or struggle with. You sacrifice yourself to support that person, even though you may want to say no. For whatever reason, you don't say no for risk of upsetting the person or losing them, and you continue to just cater to those, even sacrificing yourself. So there's a triangle that I've heard of, to where you go from being a rescue, you go going to being the victim, and then you kind of like the judge and jury. So do it hesitantly, and after you do it, you blame yourself, and after you blame yourself, you kind of victimize the other person. So it's like I said, it doesn't have to be. I don't, in my opinion, I'm not. It doesn't have to be alcohol or anything that's chemical dependent. It can just be any action this person may fail to take, and you kind of rescue them and try to help them and support them through those actions. But I'll pass it on to the resident expert, Brother Dana Davenport.
So codependency for me, as far as what we see in practice, is two people who this relationship has gone south, but they have convinced themselves that they cannot live without each other. So on one hand, they have developed reasons, irrational or so forth, that why they can't live without each other. I like this person because of this, even though pretty much, so you disregard all the bad things, but and you only focus on that thing that keeps you together, that basically that makes sense for you. And we go out and say, people say, make it make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense except for those people who are together. We see that in a lot of situations where people are like, we're just going to be married to each other. This is all we know. We argue, we fight, we do this, but this is how we communicate. This is how we get along. It may be the worst situation. Maybe it may be a little toxic. It may be pretty much a lot negative, but that's what they have decided to do. Outside of drugs, alcohol, anything else, it could just be two people who this is what they see. This is how they communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And that's how they define love.
Yeah. And in the sense of baggage, because that's the way we was trying to spin it. A person, and the professor and I, we talked about this kind of in detail today. Someone builds up this codependency, because it's not a behavior disorder. It's how do you call it, Debbie J? A psychological dependency or mood or whatever, reliance. So Vince talked about that they build this up usually, in the early age and childhood stage when they're missing some or whatnot. Anyway, you bring this into a relationship and you're so focused on the needs of the other person that it becomes just this cycle of toxicity where you're doing for a person, which isn't necessarily bad, but when you're constantly doing something to cover for a person, and correct me if I'm wrong, like your being is really defined as that. Like I'm defining my value based on doing for you and your dependency on me. Is that correct?
You in the ballpark. You are
Okay.
in the ballpark. Yeah, you're there. It it does go to, yeah, I you made a good point. I define myself and who I am by who I'm with. So I don't have my identity. My identity is with this person. When people see us, they see us. And they may see us fighting, but they see us, and that's how we describe each other as far as love. And basically going out there and really doing things despite personal safety, doing things because you say this person needs this, and that's what I'm going to go through and do. So when we see that, and I say despite personal safety, I've seen people who were in jail who were they married to people on the outside, and that person, despite personal safety, despite everything else they could have done, would try to do things, get like, hey, I can convince you to do this for me, and smuggle something into the jail, and then they get in there knowing they're gonna be searched, they get caught, they get busted, but for them, that's ride or die.
Okay, that ride or die thing. So it is making sense, and maybe I didn't describe it, but that is kind of what I was getting at. And one of the
Okay.
traits, there's a ton of them, but one of them says valuing and approval of others more than valuing yourself. And I'm thinking, like, how can that be the professor? This for you, Professor. How can that be toxic or baggage in a relationship if you come in there valuing the approval of others more than valuing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, not the professional, but I think when it comes to codependency, it's all about validation. So you're looking for validation, and when you can't validate yourself, you look for that external validation instead of having that internal validation. Put up and do anything to get that validation. To me, I think it's simple as if someone doesn't pick up their clothes, and it's like, well, I don't want the house to be nasty. You won't pick up your clothes, so I'm gonna pick up the clothes, and I keep picking the clothes against my will, against my desire to pick up clothes because it upsets me. But you continue to, I kind of create that monster there where you feel like it's acceptable to drop your clothes on the floor because I'm going to pick it up. So now you're dependent, and you just don't worry about, you're not validating my feelings. I'm so concerned with validating you and trying to show you that I love you and I'm willing to do this for you that I sacrifice myself. And that's just a small example, but we continue to do things to where we kind of create that condition for people to keep taking advantage of us when we're not able to say no and just love ourselves and just let the people suffer. Just let them deal with the consequences as it may. So I think one of the major issues with a codependency is not the ability to say no, and we kind of create the conditions for those bad habits.
I have a question though for the counselor here, Mr. Davenport. So
And
I got a
boy,
question.
how much you charge?
The question is it codependency when a man feels like he has to have control of the household to feel validated? Would that be the same?
It will become codependency if the um, person or the partner in the household allows that and feels as though this is the only way I can function. They got
Yeah.
control, and I can go out there and allow them to have control, but also, so this is the situation that I live in, and I allow to go out there and really function there. I think we have to go on a case by case basis as far as that, because we see people who have control. We see people who walk in and have control of certain things and say, "This is who I am. This is basically what this is."
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a case by case basis, but we have seen those people who are, this person is in control, the man is in control of the house, and the wife or the girlfriend is like, well, I can't make decisions without this person.
Okay. So, and I guess my thinking is just thinking how our society is built. The man comes in, he's the head of the household. But you're saying is when it becomes an issue and she can't function without it, or he has to do it, and his value is built on his ability to be the head of the house. Am I understanding that right?
I think that's more narcissism
Yeah.
than codependent.
That's what
I say I think that's more narcissism than codependent. I mean, codependent
Well,
is like the ultimate problem solver. They want to solve all your problems. They want to take on your problems, your issues as their own.
Well,
Not
I wouldn't say
not even
necessarily
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not even that, I think. But let me put it, and you said something earlier, when we're talking about as far as defining that, looking at what it was. I go to this. You have people who never heard the words until they got in a relationship with somebody. You're beautiful. You're handsome. You're smart. I like you. You're a good person. They've never heard that. So you know what? When you get into a situation where you have, despite who they are, and we've seen relationships where, like, why are you with this person? Well, they say I'm beautiful. They say, they believe in me. They be like, they don't have a job. They don't have anything else going on. Why are you with this person? Well, I support them. I'm fine with supporting them as long as they love me. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay.
They love that
It,
affirmation.
they love the affirmation in spite of, in spite of all, in spite of everything. Hey, you know what? If you get locked up, I'm gonna be the first person down there to put money on your books or bail you out. All because you say you love me. They can do everything else because it kind of goes into, this is the first time I've heard this.
So, Professor, make me understand it, because that seems like someone who has professed their love for the other person, and the other person is returning it, showing it through action. Why is that a problem?
It might not be action though. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a problem. I mean, you're not the codependent person is not really doing it out of love. They're doing it out of fear. So they're more fearful of losing the person versus loving them. So they're doing it out of fear, not love.
Wow.
I actually had that happen before. So a guy I was talking to, his big thing was taking care of the household, taking care of the family, paying the bills and everything like that. We was dating. We had our own separate homes. And like when he was going to work, he used to work for the railroad, and he called me, and first thing out of his mouth, hey, how much money you need to pay your bills? I was like, no, I'm good. He like, you don't need help with your bills? I said, they actually already paid. You're not behind on nothing? I said, no. And he got quiet. And I'm like, is that all you called me for? He like, well, yeah, I was going to send you some money for the bills. I'm like, well, bills are paid. But if you want to send me some money, I mean, I can use it I can find something to go buy. But it's like it deflated him because he didn't feel valued that he could help me in that aspect. And I think that defined like our relationship right at that moment. I kid you not. From then, it was almost like you started nitpicking at stuff because you wanted to see how you could fit in, because that was all you had to offer was money.
And you make a good point with some men that they go into traditionally what my role is. I'm gonna give you money, but I'm also used to dating women who will say, you know what, I'm behind on my bills. I need this right here, and become that codependent person. So you can feel some sense of accomplishment, and then you look at them like, you need me. You need me. And it usually doesn't go well at the end.
Well, Professor, you talked about that fear is like a big driver of that, and you said it's the fear of losing that person. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's the fear of losing that validation, that whatever it does for that person in that situation, that fear of being needed, of not being needed, that fear of being alone, and all that other good stuff. So it's not necessarily coming from a loving space; it's coming from a fear.
Yeah. I want to hit on Joshua Poindexter's comment. He said, "What is financial codependency? I can't pay my bills without you." A lot of people are actually in this situationship because a lot of people don't want love. They want somebody that they can like enough to live with so they can have somebody help them pay them bills. It's not about love no more. Everybody just want help.
Hey, Dana, does a man making six figures got anything to do with that? So asking for a friend. If a female friend is seeking a man making six figures, does that got anything to do with codependency?
I can tell you right now, it has nothing to do with codependency, because right now I can tell you some guys who are getting SSI who are living with people who are dependent upon an SSI check and will not let them go because that SSI check is consistent. So it has nothing to do with six figures. I'm sorry to tell you, it has nothing to do with six figures. It is more so to do with what is financially stable and how I can go through and really manipulate this part to get there. And you say people have fear of people as far as fear of losing somebody. Yeah, the fear of being alone, the fear of ending up alone, the fear of not having somebody. For some people, not being in a relationship is failure. It's seen as a failure. So to be in a relationship, despite this person being just, dirtbag or whatever they are, or they can go out and say, hey, you know what, this person takes care of me. It's almost a bragging point. This person takes care of me. I take care of them. This is basically what our relationship is and how we do. It's almost a bragging point when you get into that. And then it gets to the point where this isn't about love. This is about money, like you said. This is tied to money.
Yeah.
This is all about money. So your issues come from money.
So I believe codependency is in love with being in love. I love and being in a relationship. So could it be a sign that you're codependent if you're not comfortable by yourself?
Oh wow.
Yes.
Nope.
Definitely. I feel like it could be. Because you're dependent on this person to validate you every day, be with you just so you feel good about yourself. You're dependent on that person. Just like take Professor's situation. He needs someone to tell him he's handsome every day when he's actually pretty good, but only I've got a face only a mom could love, but it's the fact that you need someone to validate you every day. A lot of people need that.
You talking Toad?
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, you wrong.
But no, for real. A lot of people want that validation every day, that in-house validation.
Yes.
And just so they can be couple goals and try to reenact what they see on social media, because that's why they get most of their influence from.
And that is true. But I can give you. That's funny. You're not ugly. I'm gonna say like this, because you're my friend, brother. I have to stand up for you. You're not completely ugly, but it's okay. But being a probation officer, I remember having to go through and work with people, and I would see, we would have one person on probation, but the wife will come in with them. And the wife will sit down and say, hey, I have all their court stuff, their court dates here. And I'm sitting there like, why am I having a conversation with you when my client is actually sitting right there? And he was like, well, she handles everything. I was like, yeah, but you're on probation. He was like, yeah, but she handles everything. I said, okay, cool. And then I started looking at dynamics. The dynamics were the wife worked. She made all the money. She knew he was she knew he was in and out of jail. It didn't really matter to her because he said he loved her. So it was like, I take care of you. I got money. I'm going to make the money. I'm going to take care of all your court dates. I'm going to do all these things. That person developed a sense of purpose for being the caretaker for this adult human who they were in a relationship with, who was more than capable of taking care of themselves. But that came down to what we look at as codependency and how that worked. That was financial codependency. That was social codependency, because she made all the plans to go out. She made all the money. She did everything else. She gave him an allowance. And it came down to control. You're controlling this person through money. You're controlling this person through basically what they do. They can't get out of jail without you. They can't go, do anything else without you. And it went there. And then even down to paying his child support. So he couldn't leave. Could not leave because he was tied to that. So when we talk, so it came into like, okay, we're in this situation. This is what this is. But I feel for people like that, because when they do break away, they have no clue.
Wow.
You have to support yourself is a different story.
Yeah. And another part of it, I'm looking at it, says lacking trust in yourself and having poor self-esteem. A lot of that, what you're explaining, is that self-esteem. And I'm wondering, the professor, you talked earlier about the need, and I'm trying to link self-esteem to the need to be there. I don't know, maybe
it's the root of it. I feel like the codependency is a root of it. Just like I need you there for that validation, is because I have poor self-esteem. I need you there for that. And then just like he was saying, the woman was taking care of his bill and all his bills or whatever like that. That other bullet point right there, having an exaggerated sense of a responsibility for the actions of others. It's because you have to feel like you're needed, or you trying to control that person through what you have to offer. And because you offer something good, you have a good product, they're going to keep coming back and get addicted to you, because they can't live without you now, because you're doing everything for them. Why would you want to leave? I didn't see situations like that. Not to be a client of mine actually went through that. They took care of everything and wanted a divorce. The other spouse that was getting taken care of, oh my God, threw the biggest fit when they wanted to leave, because they didn't want what they called, the old school people call it, they milk, what is it called? Cash cow to leave them, because you got so used to being taken care of. It's not that you love them, it's that you loved what they had to offer, and now they taking it away. It's like,
Wow.
And you make a great point, and I will add this here, and I go back to it. We want to be loved, and if you've never been in a relationship where you felt love, and then it gets to a point where your definition of love becomes, I'm taking care of this, or they're taking care of me, or all these things. I can work through this in spite of, this is love. So you know what? I'm gonna stay where I'm loved. It might not be perfect love, but you know what is love? I might not ever experience it again.
Well, I ain't touching this one right here. I'm gonna let the professor have this question.
I'm gonna say, I was great. You go ahead. I'll let you say it. This your show.
Yeah, professor. If codependency is the number one strategy of Black women, let's add some context to it, because Josh, very smart brother, and I understand why he's asking that. So, a lot of times, some women feel like that they can love a person for them to begin to do right. If I pour into him, if I provide for him, if I'm there for him unconditionally, he's gonna start to do me right. So that's what he's talking about. Is it the number one strategy for Black women?
No, I don't think it's the number one strategy for Black women. I mean, I think it's used, but I think it's the opposite. I think women want the man to prove themselves. I think that women want men to feel obligated that the man has to work and prove his value. I don't think it's the opposite. So I think women with men, they're not necessarily acting as their codependents.
I actually will switch that. So women do want a man to show that they're
that's what I'm saying. So women want the codependent man.
No. Women become codependent once the man shows that they're capable of giving them what they want. So if you can show me that you can take care of this household and pray for me and pay the bills and provide and protect me and raise my kids that I done had from another man, then I'm gonna do everything I can to be codependent on you and try to.
So I'm gonna pose this to you. Why set that condition? So to me, I believe that's a conditioning system. So you condition me to do all this and do all that for you, and then you want to change the conditions. So I believe when a woman wants a man to be codependent, she's setting the conditions. I mean, it could even be something that's simple. Have an argument, you break up, was that the man comes back, he's doing the bag, and you break up 4 or 5 times, the man always coming back. You set the conditions that when there's an issue, you address it. You have to be the bigger person. I'm just gonna sit back and whatever case it be, and let you come to me. So I don't think there's anything different with the conditioning of a man to be codependent in the beginning. I mean, who's to say that you're going to switch?
No, what I'm saying, the women themselves, I feel like the women themselves starts to become codependent in the sense of they giving. Once the man prove himself, then the woman be like, well, let me give him all of this to keep a hold to him. Like, let me throw this thing back. Let me cook. Let me clean. Let me bring something to the table so I can keep him locked in and make him dependent on me because all the other values that I bring.
I'm going to give you another argument with this word that's been tossed around in the female circle, consistent. So women often say, I want a man to be consistent. You set one condition, you maintain that condition throughout the relationship.
Uh-huh.
So you saying that creating a codependent man? Professor, you saying that's creating a
Being
codependent man?
consistent has nothing to do. I mean, being
It does.
consistent. Being consistent means you like me and you don't want to lose me.
Being
That's not what
consistent
it
is
is.
I buy you flowers. I always buy you flowers.
I mean, don't start something you can't finish. I'm just
All
saying.
right. So if I had to prove myself,
Is
I'm
that
starting
wrong?
something, and you ask me to finish it.
Is that wrong?
It's wrong in the context of you saying I can start it, but then you're going to flip, and I can stop it per se.
No, you can't stop it. That's just like you saying. That's just like you saying. I'm gonna start.
So
I'm
it's
paying the
a
bills
condition then.
now, and then you
No,
got
that
to
ain't
start
the
paying the
same.
bills.
So
I mean,
Hey,
it's a conditioning. So you condition me to do all this, and then you say, "Well, I'm conditioning you to give me all you got." And as we get closer, I'm gonna give you a little bit more, but you still got to give me all that you got. So it's conditioning.
but that's not necessarily codependency, right? Or are you saying that she's creating a codependent man? I'm trying to see how that
Potentially.
I think he's trying to say potentially,
Okay.
yeah.
I can
But
see that.
don't you see, Mr. Davenport, how much he needs your services right now? Like, because I see you shaking your head. Go ahead and tell us your
So here's
side of
another.
this.
So here's another. We've been talking about just a number of baggages. Codependency is not the one. Here's another one. Overly sensitive. I know some people that are overly sensitive, and when you bring in that kind of baggage into a new relationship, it could create just a mountain of issues. So I know there's a number of ways that can be born. You know, that whole overly sensitive. Dana, from your experience, have you had to deal with that, and what usually drives a person from being like overly sensitive?
When you're in a relationship, or in a new relationship, especially you're getting to know somebody, I think most times you do have people who walk into relationships with that the last boyfriend or girlfriend is still pretty much still smoking, as far as having been dealt with, or the breakup, or whatever that is. Some people, it like I use this analogy, like in Ebony, like in the movie Scrooge, where the person comes in with all the chains of all the things they've done. That pretty much is how a lot of times people approach the relationships. They haven't let it go. They haven't dropped it, because they feel as though this is what defines me. This is how I am. So when you start doing things start looking a certain way, they go to the well. The well is, well, the last relationship looked like this, or the last person did that. And that's why I say go to well, because you start using that word, well, I've seen this before. Well, this person did this before. Well, this has happened to me before. And so you say overly sensitive, I say reactive. I don't like to use the word overly sensitive, because the word overly sensitive makes it feel like you're not validating your feelings. I say reactive, because you're reacting to something that has happened that you haven't dealt with.
Oh wow. Okay, that's different perspective to look at. Overly reactive.
In a new relationship,
Yes.
I would say I've been guilty of saying, well, someone did this in the past. So how do you address it if they're pushing a wound, or they're pushing some kind of pain button in you? How do you address that?
So one, that person that you're dating is not responsible for what that person did to you in the past.
Correct.
So
No, I
they're
mean,
not.
will they bring up similar feelings? So
you can address those feelings with that. You can addressing those feelings with that person without putting the face of the person who did it before on them, because then you're looking at how you're reactive. What makes you reactive to that. So you can talk with them about it, but it still comes down to being your issue, because you're the one reactive. My clients hate when I say that, because it throws the responsibility back on them.
Mm-hmm.
It explains it, being reactive to the person who's reacting.
You're being reactive to something somebody else has done that has no idea that the person who did that before did that and made you feel that way.
Yeah. And I'm
you can
thinking about
address it. You can talk about.
Yeah, you can say that this is one of my trigger for me, and you can then explain why it's a trigger. But just saying, well, my last person did this and you don't need to do that. No, because that's not giving them the full gist of it. It's like you're bringing that baggage into this one because someone did you wrong before. No, if it's an actual trigger or a trauma that you experience, yeah, by all means. Hey, I don't like it when you leave your socks on the floor. I fell on my face one day and I ate a face full of socks. I don't know. It was a trauma situation for you. So for that person to do it, by all means, explain why, but don't explain, well, my ex-girl did this and I don't want you to do that. No, it's just the way you communicate it, basically.
So I said, y'all smell like goat milk. Remind me of Debbie J. Smell like goat milk.
And can I address Josh's two comments, because they've been sitting there and I've been burning to actually say something.
Here we go.
So I'm going to address one as far as codependency is number one strategy of Black women. Okay. So I'm going to do this here, and I'm going to say this. Many non-Black women, especially white women, have actually gone through, got married, and became housewives. And it wasn't a problem. No one ever saw that as a problem. No one ever saw that as codependent, because they say, well, that's what traditionally marriage is supposed to be. They did that. Or they go out and, we see, white women who marry Black athletes, and, they would do that. But when Black women do certain things, so, okay, well, they're just gold digger, they're taking advantage of that part, but they're looking for the money, or they're doing something else. And Black women don't get the grace and mercy in situations that white women can walk away from, and no one will blink an eye because they're saying she's there. Two, as far as Black women not knowing what independent is, more Black women have had to be independent and take care of themselves because they've had to take care of themselves. When white women are basically in a situation where they're sitting there like, oh, someone's taking care of me, I'm not independent. And I've seen a lot of people in practice who come in and say, I'm divorced now. I've never had to be in a situation where I've had to take care of myself, and I've had to go in and do this. And these are non-Black women. Most Black women will say, you know what? I just had to pick it up and keep going and do what I had to do for myself and become independent. So when we go out there and do that, and I really, it just kind of gives me that part when we say, yeah, other people will go out there and be able to get away with it. Black women will be like, oh, no, you're not, that person. So you're here for something. You're looking for something. This is basically what we are. If you're going to do that, you need to basically look at this as a whole, because, that's what we get. And that's how it comes down to Black women carrying the brunt of a whole lot of things, but getting the short end of the stick when it comes down to grace and mercy. And that's, I'm off the soapbox.
Preach. You better preach, boy.
I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah. He said interdependence, meaning they can't come together and work.
Okay. Now interdependence. Okay, well, interdependence, we're still there as far as not really looking at where, what interdependence is. Even with that part there, the same thing. I think we need to go out there and look at where we are and what the situation is. A lot of times when it comes down to this, we walk into relationships with this idea of, we're married now, I'm responsible for XYZ. You're responsible for this. And I love this part. We got married. I went to work. I came home. You went to work. You came home. And I still expect you to clean up, wash dishes, and take care of the kids.
Yeah.
He said, so my point.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Yeah, it says, my point is Black women taking care of Black men. Okay. Put in that situation.
Yeah. But Black women taking care of Black men. Yeah.
He said not taking care of Black men.
That's a choice. No, taking care of Black men, but that's on the person to choose. If you get in there, and they always say, your relationship choice is your relationship choice. But you can't. If you're settling, you're settling. If you want something, you have to go out there and define that and lay it out and say, this is where we are and this is what we're looking at and this is what I would like, versus I'm just gonna settle. Because when you settle, you settle. You settle for all the brokenness, all the bad credit, all the debt, and all the kids that they have outside of that. So it comes into defining what you really want. And when we talk about baggage, walking into it, my favorite quote with clients is, it is not the responsibility of the new person in the relationship to unpack your baggage.
Correct.
It's your responsibility.
Come to me healed.
So with that being said, Well,
I
Debbie
ain't
just said,
unpacking
come to
your
me here.
baggage. Debbie
What?
J, unpack your own. Unpack
Yeah.
your own draw.
Wait, hold on, y'all.
I
Hold on,
unpack my.
hold on,
Huh?
hold on. Hey,
Because I was gonna
because
go
I y'all
in. Go
know,
ahead.
yeah. So at what? Because I know people want to move forward with relationships, and a lot of times you don't know that you actually try to put the work in, understanding your baggage and whatnot. Sometimes you don't know until you get into the relationship that, hey, I still have this childhood trauma that I'm dealing with that I need to get over. So in those instances, when you met couples who are trying to figure out, do we keep going, fighting through this, or should we just cut it off, go back, get healed, and then maybe continue this at another time? How do you advise couples in those instances?
You can build a plane while you're flying it. Meaning, I advise couples who work with me they have an individual therapist, and then they have a marriage counselor. So you're doing the work right there from that part. For me, and the approach that I take working with the men that I work with, we work on healing the inner child. We work on healing that person, that hurt from ground level, and we go on up. And we also talk about emotions and being able to communicate and how you do that. So if you're gonna come in, like I said, come heal, or come with the ability and the want to be healed.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it with the want. Some people, even more than that, some people want but don't know how. And so we've talked about this when you came here before, is in our community. I mean, it's no secret. A lot of us thumb our nose at counseling, So that hurdle right there in itself is man, it could be insurmountable sometimes because we don't know where to go and get help.
But see, you made the statement and said that a lot of them don't know that they have the trauma or the issues until they actually into.
That thing where I'm more specific, I'm saying they normalized it.
Yeah, but
That's
I feel
right
like
there.
it's accountability as well. They're in denial. I say that they in denial of that, and because I feel like I mean, I think before the actual relationship
The reason
that you
why I
have
say
issues.
that, I think that some people have normalized it because I just take myself sometimes. I grew up thinking like, man, if somebody crosses you, you get loud, you bow up, and you get ready to fight, and that's how you determine who's right and who's wrong. Versus like, hey, I got as I got older and got in other relationships and realized like, hey, you don't have to talk to her like that. You shouldn't be yelling at her. You should be loving, patient, listening. And I'm saying it's easy to do, but I'm saying some of our behaviors we normalize them because that's what we've seen. We think that's what we're supposed to do as a people.
And sometimes people identify. They identify with their behavior. They don't want to identify. They don't want to let that identification go. So because they want to identify as a victim or identify whatever, they don't want to lose that identity because that identity gives them purpose. It gives them power.
Yeah.
Comfort.
And when we're working with, we're working in relationships with people who are talking but not communicating. They talk to each other every day, but they don't communicate. So when it comes down to what's wrong, nothing. Okay. And then, we come back down to this where, okay, in our session, we start talking. I'm like, you're talking a whole lot in our session, but you're not talking to you're not talking, in real time. So what I've been able to do is a lot of times role play. I have men role play to themselves what they're going to say, and how they're going to go through and say it, then bring it back to me to say, as your homework, how that sound. And then we talk about what that really means, and they communicate that way, go from there. Because I was like, I'd rather you talk than punch a hole in the wall, and then somebody say, oh, something must be really wrong. You punched a hole in the wall. We've had that happen. We have had that happen.
That's what I do. Talk to that hole. Talk to that hole.
Shut up.
Oh man.
There was a hole in the wall, and I was like, and I had to go out and say, well, something must be wrong. Yeah. There was a computer thrown, so you get stuff like that. Like, yeah, you know what? We might need to I need you to have a conversation versus, before it gets to this point there.
What kind of wall was it?
It was a wall.
Was it a brick wall?
Yeah.
It had
It
a,
shouldn't be a wall that they shouldn't have had to punch to try to express their feelings. And that's my point, that we normalize some of that stuff, man. I've seen it, just being man, you think you got to fight your way and beat a wall down, kick a door in to be heard. And again, a lot of times we get in these relationships and it's normalized. And unfortunately, the person that we're in a relationship have to deal with it. Not saying that they don't have that they're perfect or anything, but like you said, he'll try to be whole when you come into a relationship. Unfortunately, it don't happen that way all the time. I think there are some foundational things that people should understand about relationship before they go in them. But again, unfortunately, we don't. That's why I think your job is so important. And I just wish that as a community that we would do more to reach out for their help and thinking like, hey, we can just read a book, or we can listen to our best friends, or watch a few TV shows or videos that are motivational and think that I'm ready to conquer. I'm telling you from experience, these counselors who are trained professions, they can push you to levels that you won't push yourself. And I just wish that we would do more to get in and try to be more purposeful and deliberate with our healing process.
it's cheaper than divorce. It's cheaper than divorce sometimes. And, but I think like I said, when you show up and you're like, oh, cool. Sometimes people ignore the red flags because they're like, I'm in this relationship. I'm going to ignore those red flags. That's just something small. And then, a person shows up at your house ready to move in with all them bags.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally, all them bags. And you're like, I'm here. And you start to really look at it, things start to really become noticeable. And then you're like, well, how do I deal with this? What's going on? This is crazy. This is definitely crazy. But like I go back to it, when people say, well, I need somebody to help me deal with my problems. It's not that person's problem. It's not that person's issue to go out there and help you unpack something. They can support you, but it's not their issue to go out there and really, especially when you're not taking responsibility and holding yourself accountable. And when you show up and you're not holding yourself accountable, and you're sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm just going to, this is just who I am. Well, what's going on with you? Well, I always ask, even people who, especially the young men I work with, they say, well, how do I approach dating? I always ask them, hey, ask her, you got a bank account? You got, it's not trying to how much money you got. You got a bank account. What's going on? Who have you dated in the past, 12 months? And they're like, what? They say, yeah, ask who you dated in the past 12 months. How did that go? Why did y'all break up? You can get no's and people will talk. They'll let you know. And you can sit and listen to it and say, okay, cool. And then make a determination. I said, but the other thing is not getting to the point where, you know what, I have problems, you have problems, our problems are similar. We're sitting here trading war stories. And then you're all of a sudden getting to that point where I feel so bad for you. I think I could be a better man for you or a better woman for you because of all the things you've gone through versus the little angel and devil on your shoulder telling you, run. Look, go ahead, pay the check and just walk away. This ain't for you. You ain't about that life. But our heartstrings get tugged and starts going there saying, I've been through the same thing. That's messed up. And you start trading war stories, and then those war stories turn into, damn, how we live together? What happened? What did I miss? We're together. Really? Yeah. And you still messed up.
Man, it seems like I could see how that could be because we want to be in a relationship where we're needed, and I think that's totally different than valued, and I don't know, man, it's tough, but unfortunately, we're a society that's reactive. We get in and then we're responding to these issues instead of building ourselves up well beforehand. And unfortunately, there's a lot of organizations out there that's trying to give premarital counseling, and it's usually a simple 4 or 6 week program where you spend an hour a day with this program that's not personalized specifically for you and your issue. Because I don't think it's a one size fit all way of approaching and handling these challenges. So again, I think it's done in good faith, but it's just a lot of people that are ill-equipped to handle this, something that's so important.
So I have a question.
You said a whole word.
This is a great segue. I'm moving to Dallas. I'm about to become Mr. Debbie J.
Mr. David
Like
J.
hell.
Codependent. So
Okay, so this is a picture that is passed around on social media a lot, and like
Okay.
this basically means we're going to work on each other. So you see how they chiseling at each other's
hold it
hearts.
up, Dev.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put you on the big screen, Dev, so people can see it.
Okay, hold on. So they're working on
Okay.
each other. They
That's a
chiseling
porn.
at each
That's a
other,
porn hub.
Mm-hmm.
and like we think that is, oh, that's my ride or die. We good. We helping each other out. When really your issues are internal, and it turns external when you're with someone. Is you always got to start within first before, because it's gonna, whatever's in gonna come out. Whether you didn't ate something, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
come out to a few different ways. On honestly, whatever you put in, it can come through your pores, through number one, number two, it's gonna come out. So even what you put on inside of your heart is gonna come out, like deflecting on someone else, on the person that you with. And you know, like they say, you always hurt the person that's
Yes.
closest to you. So we think this is just the most beautiful ride or die thing. But since I go to therapy, me and my counselor meet every single Monday. Since I've been therapy, I don't like that. I don't condone this right here
I
no
see.
more.
I don't see the caption. I can't read the caption of that picture, but I see it differently. I don't see it as. I see it as we're building each other. We're making each other better. It's not that we're addressing each other's issues. It's just, hey, we're together. You help build me. I help build you. We're building each other up. So it's not.
But they're not
You bring
building.
out the best in me, and I'm bringing out the best in you. I don't see it as something
They're
negative.
chiseling away at each other.
Yeah.
So
So
they're
you bring out the
breaking
best in me.
down.
I'm bringing out the best in you.
Okay. Half
So
full, half empty.
so you're both on the level of looking at that, because it is perspective. On one side, it is I go at it like this: support helps build. Being a support, being there, if there's a playing field it'll never be level, but it's fair in that part, and you understand each other, and you know what your role is. Y'all discuss it. There's always game planning. There's always there's a playbook. So you have that. So you go through and really look at what's what and where we are with that part. And on the other side of that, what you said, hey, you know what? I don't want to be having to build you and build me and chisel and do all these other things. Come heal. I don't have time for that. So some people have time to do that. Some people don't.
That's a good point. It's what you got time for, what you looking to take on. Because you're right, it looks different from each person. So, man, I know. We all some seasoned people up here. I think Vince probably the youngest. I'm just kidding. But regardless, though, we all, we're taking. I saw that there. We all, everybody takes on different, challenges or whatnot, and sometimes it don't look as bad as it is actually going to be, once we get into it. So it's important, I think, to slow it, pump your brakes a little bit, slow it down. We talk about how important it is to communicate. What I've learned, and I've been guilty myself, is that we don't communicate about the right stuff. We're going there with the real issue. Go ahead, Debbie. My bad.
It's not the communication, because we communicate, but we communicate bad. It's the comprehension. Like, because if I'm telling you something back to back and you're not comprehending, I'm communicating with you. But if you can't comprehend what I'm coming from, or where I'm trying to say this trauma or this trigger or what it is, you're not going to get it. And it seems like we're not communicating.
So communicating is not about you, though. Communicating is about getting through to the other person. So it's like telling a child something.
If you can't
you have to
comprehend,
come from the child's level to actually communicate with that child. So you can't see it from your perspective, because if he's not understanding you, then you are communicating bad. It would be my point.
No, we communicate. We
at some point, respect has to be in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. At some point, respect has to be in there too.
Yeah, I agree. Take this, Deb.
That is so true. Been there. 2 windows. Been
Widows. Widows?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Two widows trying to make something work. One individual seeks the help and the other doesn't think that they have a problem. This pick can be viewed in a few different ways. Okay.
He said perspective, so that's a good point right there.
Yes.
Josh said looking for a partner, not a project. Yeah, I think that's important perspective as well.
I do feel like it's going to be a little bit of project there because you got two people trying to become one. So you're going to have to kind of jigsaw puzzle that thing together where our lives are meshing. It's not a project for us fixing that person. It's just a project of putting two lives together.
Yeah.
And
But
being
back
on
to
one
my point,
accord.
and I know we're going to wrap it up, but what I was saying earlier there, and this not to contradict what you're saying about communication, but what I'm saying is sometimes we don't even know what to communicate about. Again, earlier I said that we normalize a lot of stuff. Some discussions, conversations are hard to have. You know, they're very personal, and we think that we can just push it under the rug, sweep it on the rug, and it goes away. You know, and not only that, you know, communication is more than just opening my mouth and talking. You got to make sure that I'm being heard. Perspective is important. Is the other person listening? And no, what's the other thing? The active listening too, to make sure that, you know, when we go overboard with it in the military sometimes, but when we're talking, I'll say something to you, and then you'll repeat what I said just to make sure that what I gave you is what you really understood. And sometimes you got to be that particular and that specific with, you know, which communication needs. And I know it gets tedious sometimes, but I think it's better to understand as much as possible before we get in there and think like what we're past the point of no return.
So I'm a fan for active listening, but at the same time, active listening is just me repeating what you said. So don't mean I actually heard anything. I heard what you said. Don't mean I understood what you said. I just simply repeated what you said.
Yeah. But I'm not going to repeat it for the sake of repeating it. I'm going to say, so I heard you say, and I'm going to put it in my own words. If I'm just
put it from your own
parroting back
perspective.
what you said, I think that's not what active listening really is.
I think it's for clarification. Reflective listening. Is that the new thing? Reflective listening?
The what?
Reflective listening is something different.
Deflective listening.
Reflective.
Yeah, I could see it called that too. Yeah. But I mean,
reflecting, it could be there, you know, as far as reflecting, that's a thing. But you know, and it comes down to this. I always tell people, if you have trouble communicating, create a situation where you have to communicate. You know, talk without the TV on. You know, find time to actually go through and really have those conversations there. And then it also comes down to trust. If I trust you, I'm going to talk with you about the things that I found how to talk about. And if our relationship is that organic and that safe, you're going to receive that, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
so I would say from experience, communicating is tough. I mean, it's tough to step back from your experiences. It's tough to step back from your knowledge. It's tough to step back from that situation. It's tough to step back from your feelings. It's tough to step back from your emotions. So you really have to step back from all those things to really hear somebody, and you have to be very, very focused and very, very intentional to do that. So it could be tough in the heat of the moment. So timing is in space are good things too. So if it's just not the time to do it, and you can get in a space where you can step back from yourself and actually hear the person.
Yeah,
that's good. And I think another thing to consider is we, you know, again, military vets, that we've had to do it, and when we have to do it, we do it. And oftentimes we don't extend that same grace and effort under our roof. So just something to think about.
All right. Well, we need to wrap up this discussion. It's been awesome. But first, before we do, we have a commercial break coming up. No, Flex, go ahead and hit that commercial for us.
Time to pay the bills.
JNet is a luxury recovering lodging business that offers a place to stay while recovering from medical procedures like BBLs in the Miami area. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, over 1,000 square feet unit with a dining area and full kitchen. The area boasts of nice restaurants, high-end shopping, and a night scene in downtown Miami. Contact JNet Enterprise LLC at 469-389-6511 or the email that is posted on the screen. They are also on Facebook as JNet Enterprise. Ooh, is that JNet Enterprise Sales? And IG at JNet Enterprise _LLC. And the information is posted on the screen. So make sure y'all hit them up and let them know the Floor is Yours podcast sent you, because we know y'all still getting them BBLs because tax season coming up. No shade though, no shade. I'm not body shaming. I'm just saying.
I might go give me one. Hey, not the BBL. I'm talking about these abs.
Oh, I'm about to say,
I need
get you some thunder thighs.
That's the funny one. Old joke right there, inside joke. I ain't getting no BBL. I'm talking about the abs. I need my abs like professors.
Okay. Well, Professor, you're gonna let our guests know where he can be reached.
Well, who can be reached?
Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
looking at the
So,
Mr.
Mr. Davenport, we do thank you for coming and joining the show tonight. How can you be contacted and reached? In what areas are you working?
I am. My information is at the bottom of the screen. I'm trying not to laugh because this is way too funny. Yeah, but I do have a private practice. Like I said, I also work for the Community Service Board of mine, so I can read by email. I usually return emails and phone calls within 48 hours. But I definitely do that. I also do referrals for people who are looking for a therapist but can't find the right therapist as far as what they actually look for. So I do a lot of that as well. That's something that I do free of charge, but it's on a case by case basis as far as if I can help people, depending on where you live.
Okay. And you're in the Virginia area, correct?
I am in Richmond, Virginia. Yes, but
Gotcha.
I am licensed in Virginia, so I usually do my practice is virtual, so I see people all over Virginia. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. People like in a Killeen area, you can still service that area.
If I only lived in Killeen.
Yeah. So with that being said, Dana, if people want to do some self-pay and just contact you, you'll be more than willing to help them, even if they're not in Virginia, right? I think Dana froze up. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, I had one more question for him on that side piece, but I guess we'll wrap up the show and start with some parting thoughts. Mr. Davenport, are you back with us?
No, we'll let we'll let the professor go, and then maybe by the time he'll be back in.
All right, Professor, this is your show. What's your parting thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, so my parting thought is always the same. Not only just love yourself, but get to know yourself. Know yourself, accept yourself, love yourself, and work on yourself. So hopefully we do the work to improve ourselves each and every day. And don't be afraid of getting counseling or seeking professional help if you truly feel that you need it. So continue to understand yourself, do some soul searching, understand yourself, accept yourself, and overall, can no one love you better than yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Flex, what you got?
We got Brother Dana. We're gonna let him back in. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. What were we saying?
Oh, no problem. Just one more thing about your practice. A lot of therapists don't take insurance. Do you accept insurance for someone that has access to that? Or
I do. I take Cigna insurance and self-pay.
Okay.
It depends. Insurance is, some people's insurance is certain places, they have so many, even though they try to make it easy, they made it hard. So self-pay, I actually charge $150 an hour. But if you are within a certain income range, we probably usually work out something else. And then Cigna is Cigna. It just has to be pretty much if they approve it or not, and that'll basically be it. But yeah,
give Dad the professor discount, $149 an hour.
you knew I was his dean when he was in school.
I did not know that.
I was his dean of pledgee. Yes.
Yes, and
I wouldn't tell nobody else that.
I was very disciplined.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Davenport, you have any parting thoughts for tonight to leave our viewers on?
A few things, yes. So, I mean, I'd say don't overthink it. If you're going to approach a relationship and you're looking at pretty much what's going on, don't overthink it. You know, just walk into it organically and be honest and be real. If the person's not for you, walk away. Don't lead them on. Don't play the game. Just walk away. You can give them an explanation, and I give my explanation. Two, know what you want walking into something, and then not getting distracted by the good glamour and looks of the situation. Because if you get distracted from what you really want, and you end up with something that you didn't want, but you were impulse shopping, it's not going to really work out. And then three, work on yourself before you walk into a situation with somebody else. Go in heal or go in healing. It makes a difference.
Yeah, that's good.
Gotcha. All right, Flex, what's your parting thoughts for tonight?
Can't get me off your mind. Look at you.
Yeah, I would tell people, man, don't confuse having fun with that's my soulmate, right? I tell people all the time, man, I can have fun at the club downtown Dallas with anybody that I just met. And we think that just because we have this magical fun time with people, that's somehow going to sustain us through the hard times. And what you end up with is a relationship that's built on nothing that's firm. When the issues come, it's going to swallow you. So, like Dana said, just have those hard conversations, those necessary conversations, and don't limit them based on your understanding, your experience. Go reach out to other people, some mentors, read some books and find out. Like, you can literally Google the best way to communicate. What are some issues I should communicate about? What are some things I should ask my mate? And that way it'll get you outside your own familiarity and comfort zone and force you to have those conversations that you may not otherwise have thought about. Because I'm telling you from experience that you can have the best intentions of going in a relationship. But, when Mike Tyson hits you in your mouth, man, it's a whole nother ball game. So, man, do yourself a favor, man. Put the work in. If you can, as much as possible, go and heal. Healing is each person's individual responsibility, and you can do some good work on your own. But I just think you do it better when someone is trained in that area and can do better work. You like that analogy, Dana? Hitting the back.
Professor, I got you.
Cool.
I charge 148. I got to undercut Dana.
Okay, we don't need no more effed up people walking around. My takeaway for tonight is just to basically piggyback off of what Flex said. The ideal is to go get help. You may not know you have a problem until there's an actual problem. We want to be proactive instead of reactive. So go to a couple of counseling sessions. I heard quite a few of the people in our community talking about it's so expensive, it costs too much. But like we say, you're gonna make time for what you want, and you spend money on what you want as well. So if you can spend $200 and something on some J's, that's 2 sessions right there that can do you some good. Go get the help before it's too late, because we all are dealing with some kind of trauma, and it, like I said, is seeping out in different ways and you don't even know it. So let's be proactive instead of reactive before getting into these relationships, and just see what you can work on personally yourself and then go forward with that. So again, therapy is affordable if you make it affordable. So that's my takeaway for tonight.
I'm the picture of proactive. Deb is the picture of reactive.
Okay, we're gonna block him out. But anyway, we thank y'all again for joining the show. Join us next week. Of course, you have any topics that we possibly going to be discussing next week, Professor?
No, I don't have the topics in front of me, but next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, we'll be doing a show on fitness. Is that correct, Flex?
Actually going to be Monday, so it's on President's Day. There's going to be some great information. You know, a lot of people don't know we got some real fitness-minded people on our crew here. So it'll be the professor, Tranquil T, Miss Cookie, and Ladybug. So y'all come on out.
Sorry, Deb, you make the cut.
I'm mentally fit.
No doubt, no doubt. So it's going to be some good information about, you know, being mentally fit, you know, some considerations when people are taking this journey. And one thing that I share with you from my experience, sometimes we want it so bad, we go extra hard in the beginning that we burn ourselves out. So we'll be talking about ways to pace yourself through that journey and understanding that it's not just what you eat, but it's a true lifestyle, you know. So, man, I hope y'all tune in Monday at 7:00 Central Standard Time right here on the Floor Is Yours podcast.
All right. Again, we need you to like, share, and subscribe to all our platforms. That's going to be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Make sure you're catching us on all platforms. Just go like them all because we want to build our numbers up, okay? Go tell your family and friends as well to do the same. We do want to truly say we're grateful for all you tuning in and all the comments that we had tonight. Thank you so much for engaging with us and letting us know that you're liking and enjoying what you're hearing. So again, we want to thank Rebooted, Sip and Converse, and the All Black Opinions Matter community for spending the hour with us. So Flex, if our hearts and minds are clear, play that outro.
Thank you, Dana. Hey, Dana, thanks for being on the show, brother. Really appreciate insight, your experience, and spending your time with us. Greatly appreciate it. Hope we can do it again.
Thank you. Yes, we can.
Yeah, so invoice Debbie J. And appreciate you, Debbie J. Hey, appreciate you too, Flex. Thank you all.
Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours, let me show you how prove the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
Peace.
Peace. Y'all be safe.